Hey Logo Geeks, I'm your host Ian Paget, and on this week's podcast I'm going to be chatting with Kyle Courtright about how he started a freelance logo design business. Before we get into the interview, I want to thank FreshBooks, who have kindly sponsored this podcast. I tried a number of accounting softwares over the past few years, and I feel that FreshBooks is the best, especially since they've redesigned it. Now go check it out yourself, and to do that, FreshBooks have kindly offered listeners of this show a free 30-day trial. To claim that, just visit freshbooks.com/LogoGeek and be sure to enter LogoGeek in the How Did You Hear About Us section. This week, we'll be chatting with Kyle Courtright, a graphic designer who in 2013 made his mind up to ditch his 9-to-5 job so that he could start his dream business, Courtright Designs. This is where he focuses on designing logos and brand identities. He's also the founder of Logo Wave, a fantastic new logo awards platform. Kyle is a friend of mine who I met through Twitter around 3 to 4 years back, and we were both starting similar businesses at about the same time, and we've seen each other's sites and online profiles grow and improve over that time. Kyle has always stood out for me above a lot of other designers I know, as he makes smart moves, both in terms of how he's using online tools to attract clients, but also how he's been able to create multiple revenue streams too. His story is inspiring, so I brought him on as a guest so that we can find out how he was able to grow his freelance business and to also find out a little bit more about Logo Wave too. So I introduce you to Kyle Courtright.
Moving forward, it was like, okay, so what do I need to do in order to really pay the bills here and get this freelance business off the ground and hit some of the goals that I've wanted to reach. Like the dream was owning my own freelance business without having that full-time job. So the way that I went about it, it's not always, this isn't the right way necessarily. There's a lot of different stories that people have and paths that people take, designers take to get there, get where they need to go. But for me, was learning SEO, search engine optimization, was one of the best decisions that I've made. I set up directories across the country where pretty much small business owners can find local printers in their area. So I set up these directory listings in the form of web pages where people could land on those pages. And hey, by the way, I do some logo design and, website design, things like that. And, I got some inquiries from that. But that was slow going. As you know, Ian, I know you have a lot of knowledge on SEO. It's not it's more of a long-term game, especially these days.
To be honest, I find it interesting that you brought that up because, this is a podcast about logos, but then I know a lot of people that are going to be listening are going to be thinking, I want to do that too. And being honest, the only people that I really know that are only doing logos, I'm sure you're doing some other things as am I, but in terms of the thing that we want to do, we're trying to get projects to work on logos, and the bulk of people I know that are doing that have done it freelance. So if you want to take this, as a career option and you only want to work on logos, the only way to do that is by going freelance. And that's why I wanted to bring you on, because you've kind of done something very similar to me, and we both started at the same point. And I just find it interesting that you've spoken about SEO, because that's the same thing that I've done too. I'm curious, how did you know that you needed to do SEO? What was it that you found or read, or right. How did you know to do that? Right.
I hopped on a blog called Quick Sprout. I don't know if you're familiar with Neil Patel and Quick Sprout at all, but he preaches, he's pretty much a digital marketer that knows a little bit about everything in the digital marketing world. And he would continue to preach SEO. And so I was like, let's see how this goes. And I don't have much to lose because, it's all organic. So it's not necessarily paid advertising or traffic. It's optimizing your website, as you know, so you can, get found in those search engine results. And of course, the big one is Google. So that was, something, he's a lot smarter than I am. And so, I really respected, what he had to say along the way. So I was like, okay, let's try this out. I don't have droves of clients coming in. I have nothing to lose. So, that was kind of what brought that on. And, I knew that I wanted to do logo design. That was my passion, still is. I've really tried to build my business around logo design, even to this day. I love everything that goes into that. But I knew that, at least starting out, that I couldn't just build the business just around logo design. I needed to be able to, logo design is kind of like, they're very one-off projects. So once you have the logo, it's kind of like, what's next? So I know that, once you have, once you have that icon, that typography, that color scheme in place, these small business owners, they might need a website, they might need marketing collateral, other branded materials. So I learned HTML and basic HTML and CSS. I learned WordPress, and those were a couple of the other kind of avenues I took to kind of build out, the business. So I was more of a one-stop shop, starting out. So that's kind of the story there. And I guess to add to that, I hopped on a site called thumbtack.com in order to get some logo design leads, some web design. And that was very successful, actually. You pay, at the time, it was $5 to $7 you pay for a lead, and you compete against a few other designers for that lead, and you can land some big projects. They were probably medium quality leads. Some were very low and some were higher, but I was just glad that leads were coming in at that point. So that was kind of the path that I took, as well as kind of hopping on Craigslist and putting, floating my resume and portfolio out there as well.
So am I right in assuming that when you first started out, you was literally almost taking on any project that essentially brought in some money? Am I right? Like even quite small projects?
No doubt about it, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. It's a very real way of starting a business, essentially, because you've set up your website, you're focusing on SEO, you're getting all the advice. I assume that you're using like just Google and just searching for training courses.
Right. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, pretty much. So you're just finding out what you need to do online, and that's the beauty of the internet now, right?
Right.
And then you just started taking on projects that as you could, so that you could build up a portfolio. And I guess it's basically escalated from there.
Right. No doubt about it. Yeah. It's been quite a wild ride. It's everybody starts somewhere, right? And so the main thing is setting those goals. And, I know you're a big goal setter from talking to you over the years here, and, being able to set lofty but attainable goals that, that are very real and that you follow up on. So you have some direction along the way. So that's, some advice that I would give for sure is to set those goals.
Definitely. Well, I'm a big supporter of that too. Like, I genuinely think without any, I don't think it has to be like real bolted down goals, but some kind of loose goal,
right,
of where you want to be. And then at least like every day you can do small incremental steps that works towards that thing.
Yeah. And I remember you talking about not too long ago that really resonated with me, was to kind of set the goal and then kind of work backwards from there.
Yeah. I love that advice. One of my favorite books, and I think I mention it all the time, the one thing where you got this somewhere out there goal. This could be like the most ridiculous dream that you can ever imagine. But reverse engineering that back to, what you could do in 5 years and then what you could do in 1 year to achieve that thing in 5 years, and then what you can do each month to get to that thing, and basically reverse engineering it back to one day, or what you can do now here at this very second to work towards that. And I mean, every single successful person has used that model. There's no doubt about it. So I think, without goals, you don't know where you're going.
No doubt about it, man. Yeah. And it does seem, I don't know to you, but it does seem kind of counterintuitive. But, in the same breath, it's like, wow, that makes even more sense than doing it, the other way around. So, yeah, that was great advice. And I've taken that to heart.
Yeah, you should do. And I think everyone that listens to this needs to do the same thing. Just create goals, even if they're the most ridiculous goals. And here today you can't do them. You can at least keep working towards that.
Agreed.
Okay, so I understand that you've used quite a few different tools throughout your business. What have been the most valuable for you, including design tools as well?
I'm a guy that tries to stray from the cliche as much as possible. So we'll get the cliche stuff out of the way here. Adobe Creative Suite, and, even like a site like What the Font. I don't know if I know some designers, it's kind of been around for a while, but pretty much What the Font is you can hop on their site. If there's a font that you're not quite sure what it is, but want to use it for a project, you can take a screenshot of it and then upload it straight to this program. And it's pretty intuitive, actually, even though it's kind of just a small, online free program. And then you enter, it kind of recognizes those characters, you click submit, and it's I'd say about 75 to 80% of the time, it works really well for me. And then coolers.co, I think that's how you pronounce it, but I've been using that for color inspiration, and man, you can do a lot with it. It's really easy to use interface. You can look at other designers and different color palettes that they're uploading. You can download different color palettes, save your own, stuff like that. So that's really cool. I guess one more that I would say is LibreStock. Again, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but librestock.com, pretty much especially if you're a web designer, or, even doing, marketing materials, things like that too, along the way. It's a way to, pretty much it curates all the different stock photography sites and curates that into one free, kind of resource. So
I haven't heard of that one. That sounds useful. For anyone that is listening, they probably know that I kind of got a part-time job, and I also work on Logo Geek. So within that job, I work on a lot of websites, and we work with royalty-free images. But that one, is it free?
It is. It's all free for commercial and
free use. For commercial use, yeah. And it's basically sourcing everything that's online that is commercially available.
Exactly.
That sounds brilliant. I need to check that out. I mean, just to add everything that we're talking about now, I'll add links into the show notes.
Great, perfect. Honing more in on logo design for inspiration, for instance, Dribbble is a great one. There's a lot of, they've got a honed community of really high quality designers there. And you can even, pick some colors, on there, and you can hover over certain colors, and it's got your hex codes and things like that. And then, the logo inspiration generator tool. It's actually something I created originally for designers to have really targeted logo design inspiration. And I use it quite a bit. So it's a good test, like, this is hopefully helpful to other people too. But, it's been shared, a decent amount across the web, and just, it was something pretty much out of necessity that I built to help logo designers, even business owners, being able to, get some inspiration for their next logo project that's really highly targeted. As opposed, high quality, highly targeted, as opposed to maybe a quick Google search that you'll get a lot of different types of quality along the way there. So
So how is that working, that logo inspiration tool? I mean, it's been a while, so like I remember when you released it, but in terms of using it, how does it work? Do you just go like, so if you want some inspiration for a logo project, how does it work? So you go on there and you enter in certain keywords?
Right. So I've got it set up so there's different colors on there. There's different man, I mean, there's a lot, but like if you want to search a color for a specific logo, you could click on the little check mark there for blue, and you've got all these articles that it kind of curates that you can link directly to that I've looked through individually to check for quality and to make sure that you're really honing in on that specific, whatever that keyword is. So it's, sorted by creativity, modern logos, monograms, things like that too. And then some other kind of miscellaneous items on there as well. So you can kind of check off, some different items there so you know exactly what you're targeting, and then you click on the link and it's straight away there for, hundreds of logos at a time, 50 logos, different blog posts that have been curated along the way.
That sounds really useful, and that's free to use, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Fantastic. Everyone needs to go and check that out. It sounds good. I just want to take a short break to talk about FreshBooks, who have kindly sponsored this podcast and made it possible. When I started Logo Geek, it was a side venture. I was taking on projects now and again just for fun, and I was doing my invoices in InDesign and was managing my profits and expenses in Excel. But when I took the leap and I started to take on more projects, this really wasn't working for me. Everything took so much time, and that was time I really needed to spend working on my client projects. And I found FreshBooks to be the perfect solution, as I could quickly and easily create professional looking invoices, and I also had clear visibility on my profits and expenses too. FreshBooks have kindly offered you, the listener of this podcast, a free 30-day trial. To check it out, just visit freshbooks.com/LogoGeek and be sure to enter Logo Geek in the How Did You Hear About Us section. Now let's get back to the interview. Like me, you're also pretty big on building communities and tools and resources and blog posts and lots of different things for the community, essentially. And you recently started working on Logo Wave, where I'm a judge alongside Jacob Cass, Nadir. I can't say his surname.
I'm going to guess Balsikli, but yeah, it's a tough one.
So, sorry, Nadir, if I said that wrong. And he's from Logo Rado. And most recently, you've managed to get Bill Gardner of Logo Lounge on as well. He was a guest on this podcast just a few episodes back.
Very good, very good. Yeah.
So for our listeners, can you briefly explain the idea behind Logo Wave and how that came about as a project for you?
Of course, yeah. I was looking to, start some sort of a side project here, man, the Logo Awards space was always intriguing to me. I didn't see actually too many that were just specific to logo design. So that was one thing. But you can't build a business around that, just that. The need has to be there, but how do you go about it? How do you brand yourself? These things that are really important. So it was really birthed out of, I was looking around and the Logo Awards sites, not to take away from anything, other sites are doing, but I felt like it was a little on the pricier side. And so having an affordable but still, high profile Logo Awards platform was what I wanted to build. So, and adding to that, our profession can be kind of a thankless job a lot of times, along with other professions. But it's I'm all about building up other designers and encouraging them. Like on my Twitter profile, I try to spotlight different logo designers that are just doing just reeling off amazing quality work. And so I love that idea of building this community of designers, of, encouragement and, building people up when it comes down to it. So that's kind of the heart behind the brand. and so, it kind of just started from there. And, I wanted something that was a little bit different from the others as well. Again, I try to tend away from the cliche. I tend towards, and this more than most, that I tend to try to keep things more minimal and simplistic and not too convoluted. So, it's just a flat rate price that people would pay. At the time, it was very, very low. I think my closest competitor, in quotes, was around like $65, $70 for a logo entry. And I was at the $12 price point there for a while, as you know. So, being able to have an affordable solution, kind of test the model with a lower, like a really super low price point and see, are designers going to, logo designers going to, really take this in, or are they, going to push it away? Is it something, is the need there? And so along the way, there's been, coming up on hundreds of logos that have been submitted by various designers around the world. And, just recently decided that, in order to make this a truly high profile logo award site, I want to, up the ante a little bit, as they say. So, before it was a $12 logo entry, and you could upload your logos at that price point for a $300 prize to the first place winner. And at the time, there were about 25 designers per wave. And so it's just an easy way to kind of get the word out. All the top 5 finishers will get recognition on the site, social media, things like that, a digital prize pack. So recently, as you know, I tried to, up that prize to $1,000, and then a crystal engraved trophy as well to each first place wave winner, where each wave is now 50 designers at a $49 entry, which is still one of the lowest in the industry, but really trying to raise the stakes a little bit.
You want to enter now because there's a bigger prize and you get the trophy. And I mean, you've been working on it now for, what is it, like 2 years, or is it longer? I can't remember how long it's been. But when something new starts, is that only a year? Wow. When something new starts, you're never really sure if you want to enter. But now, like, I've seen it grow, and there's a lot more entries being added in. The quality is increasing as well. And now the fact that the prize is bigger as well, I think you're onto something, and I think it's going to get a lot bigger. And that's why I thought it was good to talk about this as well, because the more entries that get in there, the better they get. It's going to be good. Imagine winning that prize, $1,000 and the trophy. That's an awesome prize.
Oh, very cool. I'm glad you like it. And, you're being modest too, because the judges panel really helps. And guys like you and Jacob Cass and, now Bill Gardner, of course, Nadir being on there. I mean, that just, I think that really does help with more of the credibility factor. And so these, well-known, thought leaders in the design space, like you guys are, it really, I think that helps up the value a little bit and raise the stakes. But, I'm hoping that people really, get excited about it. I don't want it to be this kind of, stiff, upright, logo awards platform. I want it to be, fun and encouraging and building up, like I was saying, and there needs to be that credibility factor there, of course. But I want it to be a little bit more free flowing than some of the other awards platforms out there.
I know you recently did a live version as well, didn't you?
Yeah. Creative South Conference in Columbus, Georgia. Yeah.
It's pretty cool. So, I mean, if anyone wants to enter Logo Wave, where do they need to go?
Thanks. It's just mylogowave.com. So mylogowave.com. And all the info's there, and you can upload your logos, and it's just trying to make it a fun way for these logo designers to really get recognized and awarded for their stellar work. So
I'm curious, what's the future plans for Logo Wave?
Yeah, great question. Oh man, I gotta take one step at a time. Sometimes I just try to take on too much at one time, but right now we're trying to. So the judges panel, is very solid right now, but very male. It's male heavy. So, being able to add some influential female designers in the mix, that's kind of the next step here. I'm trying to make some connections. Reached out to Paula Scher, kind of waiting to hear back there. Debbie Millman, even, someone like Alina Wheeler, who are, design giants in our industry. And so, it's a very young panel too. So I want to kind of up that a little bit. Not too much. I'm not saying, these people are old or anything, but, it's very young right now. So being able to have a good mix of judges and generations along the way here. And to add to what's kind of on the horizon here, adding an affiliate program as well, where that will be implemented probably within the next couple of weeks, where, designers can, there's a lot of people that are getting the word out on Logo Wave. So I want to really reward those people too for getting the word out and have a little bit more motivation too there, where you can make a commission off each designer that you refer to Logo Wave. So that's kind of another thing that's on the horizon, and want to keep iterating, listening to the feedback from designers. That's the thing. It's not me. It's I'm just kind of asking people like you and, other designers that come in. It's like, what's your experience like? What do you like? What do you dislike? And really, iterate and hone in on the best possible experience that you can have with Logo Wave.
That's amazing. I just think it's just going to keep getting better. So I'm just going to keep an eye on it. I'm looking forward to the future for it.
Sounds good.
Okay, so through Logo Wave, we're seeing quite a lot of logos. In your opinion, what are some of the most common mistakes that are being made? What I'm trying to highlight here is, where are people screwing up? I mean, what small things could they be doing that give them a better chance of maybe winning?
Right. That's such a great question. And I know I'd love to hear your thoughts on this as well. But my first inclination would be that overcomplicating logos a little bit too much. There is beauty in simplicity, and with logo design is no exception to the rule. So being able to find the most minimal form of a logo that is still recognizable and matches up with that brand. I mean, that's huge, and it's, as you got to be recognizable with that logo, like I said. So being able to see that, view it from a distance, and it doesn't get, all clumped together with all the details, and overcomplicating things. And, I think that's the mark of a good logo, is something that's one of the many aspects that go into solid logo design is being able to have a, still maintain its recognizability and, direct relationship to the brand, but still be able to, but have it in its most minimal form. I guess the other thing that I would mention is it's amazing what typography can do to a logo, and how, some can really kind of throw in the type at the end or the beginning of the project, and that doesn't take as much. That's not as much work that goes into that as the icon itself or the graphic portion of the logo. So, that's it can make or break a logo, when there's a font or, typography that just doesn't quite match up. or something that you've seen before that's not, Tahoma Times New Roman. I have a respect for some of these fonts, but man, it's, you want to have some sort of stylized factor to it. So it's not like, okay, I've seen that before. That's not really a differentiated brand in my mind. So, that and, more of the logistics, I think that from a purely mathematics standpoint, I've seen a lot of designers upload, 2+ logos along the way. A lot of people upload around that 2 mark. And so if you're just uploading one logo, it can, from a mathematics standpoint, again, it can decrease your chances right out of the gate. Just from a math standpoint. So, just uploading a couple logos and making that investment. So
I could probably throw in a couple as well. One thing for me, which is a little bit of a bugbear, and I feel like context is important. And I know when you enter a logo into the contest, there are the occasional person that they don't add any information along with the logo, or they'll add just like one short 2 or 3 words, which just doesn't feel like enough. And I feel like it's important to explain what you're trying to achieve, because sometimes like you can create a beautiful looking logo, but if it's not relevant to the project, obviously it's not right. So I personally think it's quite important to be able to explain what you've done and how you've achieved those goals. And that's what kind of differentiates you. And people that upload just an image without any context, for me, it can look good, but it's like, I don't feel like that person's made enough effort. Yeah. So that's one thing that I like to see. Also, I think you made a good point about typography, that sometimes it can kind of be slapped on as an afterthought. Like there are a lot of people that are creating like beautiful icons, that are fantastic, that you can tell that there's been a lot of time and effort that's been put into that, but then just a bog standard out of the box font has been added along with the icon, and it's got a slight disconnect. And what I recommend to do, and this is what I do, and I'm sure you do the same, Kyle, slightly modify the typeface so that it's got some characteristic that keeps it in harmony with the icon. So, there's something about it so it all works as one unit. And I think when you don't do that, it just looks like 2 pieces that are kind of plonked together.
Right. No doubt about it.
I think like the usual stuff, like I'm not a big fan of logos with too much detail. Like obviously, if you scale it down to the size of, social media, when you use Twitter on your phone, sometimes those icons are as small as like 8 millimeters. They're tiny. And if a logo doesn't work at that size, it can be perfectly illustrated. But for me, I don't feel like it's a successful logo. So I'm also looking at lots of different things like that as well. And you generally find the one that does win kind of ticks all of the boxes.
Right. Yeah. And I've actually, it's kind of going back to what you were saying before too, that, the top 5 from each wave, I should have said this before, but it gets recognized on the site and social media. So it's not just first place wave winners. There's some recognition and you get a certificate and all these things that go into it. But I've noticed with the top 5 of each wave that it's pretty uncommon to see, some of the more conceptual work or people that just decide not to have that description or context to go along with the logo. So I know that it is definitely more helpful than detrimental. We'll say that and like you were saying too, it's, I think you made a good point there where you were talking about how I think it really talks to the logo designer itself too, and says, they're willing to put in the time to, they put in the time to the logo, and that directly is related to the time that they put into this context or description to kind of give us an overview of the brand and what this particular company or entity was looking to do, and how that problem was solved, how the solution was formed.
Yeah, I think it's worth saying we're not talking an essay, but there are the occasional designs that are uploaded, and there's nothing that goes with it. It's just an image, and it could be a really nice logo, but the fact that it doesn't have anything that kind of explains who the logo's for and what you aim to achieve, it doesn't add anything to it. But on the opposite end of the spectrum, sometimes you look at a logo and you think, yeah, it's okay. But then you read and you understand what they were trying to do, what it was trying to represent. You realize, oh, that's a really clever solution. And suddenly, I mean, I kind of mentally give each logo a score. It's not like an official scoring system, but say if I score each logo at 5, if say I look at the logo on its own, I might just think, it's maybe a 3. But then I read what they were trying to do, it might put it up to a 5. And then suddenly it's, one of the contenders for the top 5 that I'm sending over to Kyle.
Right. I completely agree with you, man. Yeah, it helps to have that context there. And yeah, it can take it to the next level because it's, wow, this decision was made because of X, whatever it may be. So yeah, I couldn't agree with you more.
Okay, so you set up your own business and, you're basically living the life of your dreams. And I know a lot of people listening to this, they would want to do the same thing. So if you could give the listeners one piece of advice to take away from this, what would that be?
Oh, man, just one, huh? Oh, gosh,
you can give more if you want to.
No, I tend to be long-winded sometimes. No, gosh, man, I would say building out that online portfolio and just honing in on that quality and how you present yourself is so important. I would, again, here we go with the list of things, but local SEO, so setting yourself up for some keywords if you have a website, being able to search the city name and logo design or city name logo designer, that can only be helpful.
I think with local SEO, it's a quick win because literally I would go as far as saying all you really need to do is include a H1 on your page with logo design in whatever your location is and, update the metadata. So the title tag and the description. Right. And then maybe upload your site to a few directories like you did. And I genuinely think that's probably all you need to do because it's not the most competitive term unless you're in a big city, like trying to do that in London, it might be harder. But most places, like if you live in a town, you can optimize and be on page 1, position 1 on Google for that just by doing something as simple as that, along with, blog writing and guest blogging for backlinks and all that sort of stuff.
Right. And if I may, if your listeners, if you're looking for a kind of a one-stop shop type of blog, I would recommend QuickSprout for everything and anything that you need to know about SEO, in my opinion, is on that website. Another good one is backlinko.com by Brian Dean, just to try to get backlinks, which is another kind of SEO factor. But I completely agree. Set your H1 tags on your site for those relevant keyword phrases. Have it in the body copy a little bit, especially on the homepage, and optimize a little bit. It doesn't take that much, and it might take 10, 15 minutes tops to set that up, or have a web designer set that up if you're not into the web design side of things. So completely agree there. And then I was going to say make connections, build those relationships. I've learned this more in the last 2 years than any other time, and I wish I would have been more. I wish I would have been better about that early on in my career. And one thing that I've noticed with some of the best logo designers out there is that they are very well read. And so I would say, get on, find a couple of favorite blogs, read books from some of these thought leaders and influencers out there. Hop on a really helpful Twitter feed like Logo Geek himself, or Jacob Cass has a great feed. Chris Doe, I know that he's just has a feed that's just chock full of value as well. So yeah, hop on those blogs, read books, and learn from other. This is the last thing I'll say, I promise. Just learn from other designers who are doing it right, in quotes, who get it, who have built up their following, and there's a reason for that. The quality, is their quality of work is usually on point, and so follow some of these designers that inspire you specifically. Don't worry about anybody else. Each designer has their own. I'm convinced each designer has their own style in some way that they tend towards. So, find those designers, those logo designers that really inspire you, and and then find your own style. There's different ways that we can. There's different avenues that we can be inspired by, but find your own style along the way and hold to that. And it might change and adapt, but that's where kind of the passion and all the fun comes from. You got to have fun with it, and if you're not having fun, then what's the point in the first place? So that's kind of some of the things that I would say, and along the way. And man, I guess, okay, one more thing, promise, the last thing. I would say you got to remove unnecessary distractions from the day to stay, on point and focused. I'm talking to myself here. I can really get distracted with different things. It might be social media. It might be reading a blog that is not even close to related to design, and I'm putting off a project or whatever it may be. So limit those distractions if you want to. I know for some people they turn off notifications for social media, and that can help. It's each person is different, so figure out what that is so you can really stay focused and honed in on your goals and what you're trying to do in the end.
I think everyone has that same issue. I'm exactly the same. It's even worse now because I created a Facebook community and I get all these alerts and I kind of want to check it. So it's terrible. But I mean, some advice from me, write down what you need to do. Put that list by your side and keep looking at it. So you force yourself. You have to get that and that done, and anything else that's not on that list is not important. And there's all these tricks that you can do. There's all these little tools and things, but at the end of the day, if you're going to run a freelance business, you just need to keep focusing on what needs to be done. And if you do want to take 10 minutes to do something else, it's okay, but you need to make that time back up so that you can get that job finished, right?
Right. That's excellent. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, Kyle, thanks so much for your time, and it's been great to have you on.
Well, thanks so much for having me. It's a great opportunity. I'm honored to be a part. So thanks so much.
Another great interview. Kyle, thank you so much for being a fantastic guest and for sharing your story with us. I think you've demonstrated what it takes to be a successful freelance designer, so thank you for being so transparent. If you want to find out more about Kyle, make sure to check out his website, courtrightdesign.com. Now, if you're keen to enter Logo Wave, you can find out more by visiting logogeek.uk/Logo Wave, and that will take you through to my affiliate link, which means that I get a percentage of the entry fee, which helps to support projects like this podcast. As Logo Wave has a $1,000 prize and a crystal trophy, it's well worth entering, especially if you want to start calling yourself an award-winning logo designer. Show notes for this podcast can be found at logogeek.uk/podcast8. Now, if you want to chat about this episode with me and another 1,000 plus logo designers, join the Logo Geek community on Facebook. And you can find that simply by visiting logogeek.uk/community, or you can find me on Twitter at @logo_geek. If you've enjoyed this podcast, make sure to subscribe. And if you want to support me, make sure to write an honest rating or review too. That would be greatly appreciated. So guys, thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time.